Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Mr. Chairman, Majesties and Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, Heads of Delegation, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is indeed a great pleasure and honor to be present at this important gathering of leaders from the Islamic world, a meeting that comes at a time of crucial importance to the Islamic Ummah. I thank His Excellency, President Dr. Mohamed Morsi and the Government of Egypt for hosting this summit and for bringing us together under excellent arrangements in the historic city of Cairo. I also thank President Macky Sall of Senegal for the leadership he provided during his presidency. This 12th OIC summit builds on the leadership that the OIC as an organization and various leaders of the Muslim world have shown in the recent years in highlighting the issues and concerns facing the Ummah. In this context, I express deep appreciation to Khadim al-Haramain Sharifain, His Majesty King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz of Saudi Arabia, for his important initiative of hosting an extraordinary summit in the holy city of Mecca, where we affirmed our solidarity and desire to collectively address our vulnerabilities to global threats and challenges, and to protect the fundamental interest and well-being of the Ummah. This summit, ladies and gentlemen, is a timely step to focus our attention on some of the gravest and consequential challenges facing us today. From the violence of terrorism to the crisis and conflict in several of our countries, to the ever-continuing sufferings of our Palestinian brothers and sisters, the Muslim world is strewn with difficulties. Ladies and gentlemen, in my view of the challenges we face, the most urgent to address is terrorism and extremism, which pose the most serious threat to peace, security, and progress across the Islamic world. In many parts of the Ummah, terrorism inflicts immense suffering and undermines our abilities for socio-economic development. It is of particular concern for the OIC, as the body that collectively represents the Ummah, that terrorism is committed by misusing the name of our religion. I urge all OIC members not only to condemn acts of terrorism, but also to take decisive and concerted action to prevent extremists and terrorists from abusing our religion and tarnishing its image. We must prevent our mosques and our madrasas from being misused to propagate extremism and hatred. Terrorist groups must not find safe haven, sanctuary, funding, or sponsorship in our countries or by our governments. Our religious scholars and ulama must effectively engage in our common struggle against extremism, who undermine the Ummah's progress and stability. In this context, my delegation urges ulama across the Islamic world to take example from Sheikh Abdulaziz, Mufti Azam of Saudi Arabia, whose sermon on the day of Arafat recalled that suicide attacks are prohibited in Islam, and anyone who attempts or carries out such attacks will not be forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To address these challenges, we not only need strong political unity, but also sustained effort at raising our standard in human capital and economic development. Excellencies, my country, Afghanistan, has been a victim of violence for many years, as we all know. Over the past decade, however, we have made great progress to provide safer, healthier, and more prosperous lives for the Afghan people. Terrorism, however, and extremism with it, emanating from outside our borders, remains the #1 concern of the Afghan people and the biggest challenge for our region. Terrorism continues to inflict great suffering on the people of Afghanistan and Pakistan. We can best defeat this threat through sincere cooperation in the region, in particular cooperation between Afghanistan and Pakistan as two neighbors and brotherly countries. As far as Afghanistan is concerned, we are committed to working with our neighbors and the region for peace and security for the people of the whole region. As the presence of international forces in Afghanistan comes to an end next year, we are continuously consolidating our institutions of state and strengthening our security, social, political, and economic prospects for the future. As part of this effort, we have extended a hand of reconciliation and peace to the Afghan Taliban and other groups that are currently engaged in armed opposition. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to other major issues of the Islamic world today, Afghanistan stands in full solidarity with and in support of the Palestinian people in their quest for independent Palestinian state. We call for the unity of the Palestinian people and reiterate our support for all international efforts that will bring the Palestinian people to achieving their long-cherished aspirations of freedom, independence, and peace. We also condemn in the strongest possible terms the continued development of Israeli settlements in Palestinian lands, which we believe could make the achievement of peace more difficult. Afghanistan deplores the dispossession of Rohingya Muslims of their political and legal rights and their disproportionate suffering from intercommunal violence. We call upon the government of Myanmar to address their plight, including the restoration of their legal status. Ladies and gentlemen, the conflict in our other brotherly country, Syria, renders peace and security in the Middle East precarious. All OIC members, I hope, will work to bring an immediate end to the suffering and conflict in our brotherly country. We must ensure that the international approach to the Syrian crisis is guided by the full respect of the Syrian people's sovereignty and upholds their right to determine their own future. Excellencies, before I conclude, I wish to recognize the very hard work of His Excellency Professor Ikmaluddin Ehsanoglu and the OIC Secretariat towards advancing the interests of the Ummah with international and regional organizations and building awareness of Islam as a religion of moderation, tolerance, and coexistence. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this summit gives renewed impetus to our collective efforts towards realizing our common goals of peace and shared prosperity for the whole of the Muslim Ummah. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.